What if your plans didn't just break under pressure, but actually got stronger? Well, today we're diving into Peter Morville's book, Planning for Everything. It's all about a radical idea: stop building rigid blueprints and start running living experiments.
So, let me ask you this. Have you ever spent weeks, maybe even months, crafting what you thought was the perfect plan, only to watch it just completely fall apart the second it meets the real world? Yeah, if that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. Reality is messy, it's unpredictable, and it almost never cares about our neat little outlines.
And that really gets to the heart of what Morville is talking about. See, on one side, you've got the rigid blueprint. It's brittle, it's static, and honestly, it's kind of designed to break. But on the other side, you have the living experiment, something that's adaptive, constantly evolving, and actually thrives when things get complicated. This is the big shift we're going to unpack.
So let's get into the book that's behind this whole idea. We're looking at planning for everything and how it makes the case for a much more resilient way to get things done.
Okay, the quick details. It came out in 2018, and it really sits right at that sweet spot between business strategy and self-help. Morville is talking to basically anyone, project managers, entrepreneurs, you name it, who's ever felt trapped by a traditional, inflexible plan.
So what's the revolutionary idea here? Well, Morville says we don't really have a planning problem. We have a perspective problem. The issue isn't our ability to make a plan, it's how we think about what a plan is in the first place.
He calls this whole thing the adaptive shift. And it breaks down like this. Step 1 is the problem. We plan like we're architects, making a fixed blueprint. Step 2 is the solution. Start thinking like a scientist and treat every plan as a living experiment. And the result? A total transformation. We go from being brittle planners to adaptive navigators who can actually handle complexity.
Okay, so let's really dig in now with 5 key lessons straight from the book. These are the big ideas that really bring this living experiment concept to life.
First up is this quote, and it just completely redefines planning. The point is, a plan isn't some document you write and then blindly follow. No, it's a living, evolving activity. That means you're constantly making little adjustments, using both hard data and, your gut feeling. So the key insight here is huge. Stop trying to fight uncertainty. Instead, embrace it. Treat it like a creative partner. And here's a super practical way to do that. Just schedule a quick 15-minute plan review every single week. That's it. Check in, see what's changed, and adapt. Lesson number 2 is all about bringing your whole grain to the table. See, great planning isn't just a logical left-brain thing. It's a mix of the analytical and the creative. It's about pulling ideas from psychology and design to make ourselves more flexible. The big idea here is that self-awareness is the bridge that connects your logical mind with your intuition. And to build that bridge, try this. Before you make a big decision, just take a few minutes to journal. Write down the hard reasons, the pros and cons, but also write down what your gut is screaming at you. It helps you see the whole picture. All right, lesson 3 is about getting out of your own head. Morville makes this amazing point that when planning becomes a social thing, it turns into something bigger. A collaborative adventure where you get more creativity and more accountability.
Seriously, when you bring other people in, a boring planning session turns into an exploration. And here's a fantastic way to actually do this. Form a small planning accountability group. Just get 2 or 3 people you trust together once a month to get fresh eyes on your challenges.
This next one really hits on the core idea of the whole book. Every single plan you make is an experiment. This means doing the thing is just one part of the cycle. You have to follow it up with reflection and learning, because that's what fuels the next version of your plan. And this insight, it's a total game changer. It's all about reframing your setbacks. A setback isn't a failure, it's just a data point. To put this into action, after every major milestone, do a 30-minute experiment debrief. Ask your team, what did we learn from the data, the good and the bad?
Our final lesson here is all about balance. This isn't about wandering around with no destination, not at all. It's about knowing exactly where you want to go, but giving yourself the freedom to take a bunch of different roads to get there.
I love the insight here. Hold the destination firmly, but dance creatively with the journey. It's so good. To actually do this, define your one unchanging why, the real purpose of your goal. Then, brainstorm 5 completely different hows you could use to achieve it.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. How do we pull all these lessons together into something you can actually use? Let's build a quick toolkit. Here are your first 3 actions, your starter kit. First, that weekly pulse check, the quick 15-minute review to stay on top of things. Second, build your pivot points. Decide ahead of time when you're going to pause and ask, do we need to change direction? And third, create that planning advisory board, your accountability group for fresh ideas.
And now for the big question. This book is full of incredible ideas, but is it the right tool for everybody? Let's get into our final verdict.
Okay, the strengths are obvious. It completely transforms your mindset, and it gives you some really practical tools. The weaknesses? Well, the book itself is not very traditional. It's a bit scattered, and the framework isn't laid out in a simple, linear way. It's almost like the book practices what it preaches, which is cool, but might be tough if you're looking for a rigid step-by-step guide.
So after all that, what's our final score? We are giving Planning for Everything a really solid 7.4 out of 10.
And here's why. It gets a massive 8.5 for impact potential and an 8.0 for practical applicability. Because honestly, these ideas can change the way you work. The main thing holding it back is writing clarity, where it gets a 6.5, just because that non-traditional structure can make it a bit of a challenge to get through. So if this whole idea of adaptive, resilient planning has you excited, and you're wondering what's next, we've got a couple of recommendations for you. First, check out Anti-Fragile by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. It goes even deeper into how systems can actually benefit from chaos. And if you want to see these ideas applied directly to business, you have to read The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. It's basically the Bible for experimental entrepreneurship. And that's our deep dive into Planning for Everything. If you love turning complex ideas into clear, actionable insights like this, you know what to do. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We'll see you there.